Now, this was a fairly little simple incident, but it shows three things. Firstly, you never know when you're going to be surprised, because I never knew I was going to feel anything like that when I stood up. Secondly, it reminded me of the value of patience. I simply took my time to notice what I felt, and I got used to it. I didn't rush away from my feelings by diving into my presentation in a terrible rush. And when I acknowledged how I felt, it wasn't overwhelming. It helped to notice my breathing and to let that become calm as well. Thirdly, I reminded myself that the feeling I felt wasn't good or bad. It was just what I felt. I could choose to call it fear, or stage fright, or eagerness, or excitement. So I chose to call it excitement. I was reminded of this when I was sent a tape of my presentation. I heard the pause before I started to speak. That was the pause I took to make room for my confidence. There are lots of ways to make room for your confidence in your life. In conversations, we can practice confident listening. Confident listening is allowing yourself to concentrate fully on the other person's speech. It means that instead of preparing what I'm going to say, I really listen to you. And so often, when I listen well, what I need to say, and when it's okay to say nothing, becomes much clearer. When I hear the rhythm of a conversation, I discover that there are plenty of times when silence is appropriate. By listening with patience, I make room for confidence in my conversation. The same is true with actions and feelings. Patience makes room for confidence. Turn your attention outward to the world while acknowledging what you feel. But don't judge or compare or worry. Stay curious. Don't judge yourself or others. Often you don't have to worry as much as you did when you lacked confidence. And when it's time to act, what you have to do is clear and simple. We all use habits a great deal in our lives. Some habits help our confidence, others don't. So to increase our confidence, we have to amplify the habits that assist us and eliminate those that don't. Much of our thinking is habitual. It happens all by itself and is just a string of associations. Mostly we tend to be absorbed in a task or an interest or afloat on the river of automatic thinking. However, we can affect it. With a little effort, we can redirect our attention. It turns out that associational thinking is very powerful. So this effort has to be made over and over again. At first, it's quite unnerving to discover how easy we can be distracted. But if we repeat the effort over and over again, we gradually find that we affect our patterns of association and also increase our patterns of concentration. There's one very important way we need to make this effort. Nowadays, the atmosphere of ideas in which we live is very busy. Messages bombard us from all sides, and not all of them are healthy. On television and radio, we're asked to buy far more than we can afford, and the news is always full of doom and disaster. To protect ourselves, we learn to ignore a great deal of it so that we're not overwhelmed. But unfortunately, we can inadvertently ignore the beauty and blessings of life as well. So we must learn to be selective and to reinforce the positive, beautiful messages in our lives so that we nourish the beautifulness and positiveness within ourselves. As we pay attention to the goodness in the outside world, we strengthen it within ourselves. It's also useful to phrase things positively, to use optimistic language whenever possible. I don't mean we should ignore problems or difficulties, but that we should always look toward the solution, not the negativity. If we use positive words to ourselves and others, we're more likely to receive positive words and messages from them. Try to avoid putting other people down or putting yourself down. If you want, you can make a game of cleaning up your language. Do it by yourself or with a friend. Watch out for negative phrases like, I can't, or I shouldn't, or I'll never, or not very good, or starting sentences with but or no. Whenever you hear yourself or a friend use a phrase like that, stop and rephrase it in positive terms. For example, instead of I can't do such and such, use I can learn how to do such and such. Or I haven't learned to do such and such yet. There's no fixed meaning in life except the meaning we bring to it. So let's make your life brighter by looking at things you've got going for you. Positive thinking becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Every time we pay attention to something, we energize its presence within us. If we pay attention to negative thoughts, we just make them stronger, so they crop up more and more often. But when we pay attention to positive thoughts, we strengthen them, so that they return to our consciousness more and more often. Whatever you pay attention to returns to your awareness more and more frequently. So it's vitally important to acknowledge and concentrate on your successes, great and small, and what's really healthy and rewarding around you. Remember, you always get more of what you focus on in life. Here's a way of focusing that power. These questions direct your mind to what's positive in your life. So in order to answer them, you have to experience some of the good feelings that go with the answer. Every morning, ask yourself, what do I feel happiest about? Who or what in my life makes me feel most loved? Who or what in my life makes me feel richest? And if you don't know the answer to these questions yet, ask yourself, what could I feel happiest about? Who or what in my life could make me feel happier, richer, or more confident? When you were a child, you may have seen a model railway in a shop window. The train would go around and around the window, across the front, and into a tunnel, and then out of the tunnel on the other side, across the front of the window, and back into the tunnel, and so on. The conscious mind is a bit like the window. We see the train of our thoughts when they cross the front of the mind, but the train carries on out of sight and pulls whatever we've seen through the tunnel, the unconscious mind. If we put positive thoughts onto the train when we see it, when it's in our conscious mind, it will automatically take them into the unconscious mind again and again. So whenever you think of yourself, think of your successful self, and the automatic incessant train of your thoughts will take that positive picture of yourself to your unconscious, and slowly but surely your fundamental view of yourself will improve, and it will become natural to think of yourself as successful, competent, and confident. Another part of making room for confidence in your life is accepting that there is risk. This may sound odd at first. After all, we wish we had so much confidence that we could avoid risks. But confidence isn't knowledge. If we know we can do something, we don't need confidence. We can just do it. We only have confidence when we're not entirely sure, not 100% sure of success, and yet we still have a go. That's the essence of confidence. When there's no risk, there's only certainty. Confidence only comes when there's risk. So we must embrace the risk, recognize it, and realize it as a place in your life. In fact, it's because of the risk that you can value your achievements, because you achieved them in the face of risk. This is why you can feel good about every step on your path to confidence. Each step is a risk, however small. And as you get used to having risks, you'll realize that you'll get used to having confidence. Risks don't go away. We just realize we can face it and deal with it. As we do so, we become more powerful. We learn we can achieve our goals, and we become more confident. I'll show you one more thing that increases your confidence, and it's great fun as well.